Yo, which resonator should you avoid as a new player? Or even if you've been around the block already? It's the million asteroid question. With reruns piling up, banners flashing left and right, and every unit looking shiny on the surface, it's no wonder beginners feel like kids let loose in a candy store. Except half the candy is rock hard jawbreakers that'll chip your teeth. In this video, we'll talk about 5 resonators that, in my opinion, are the fast track to bricking your account if you're just starting out. Who are the characters you might regret summoning the moment reality sets in? Stick around and let's find out. Yo, welcome back to the channel. Kamusta po sa inyong lahat? Before diving into the details, let's set one thing straight here. None of these units are unusable. Every single one of them has value, and plenty of players enjoy running them. However, for beginners trying to clear content, get their first few rewards, and building a stable roster, some of these characters are simply more trouble than they're worth compared to safer, easier, newer options. There's only a limited amount of asteroids in the game, and if you want more, the only other option is to get up to 24% in discounts with Loot Bar. It's cheaper than doing it in-game, and with their DIY mobile top-up, you no longer have to share your password. Trusted with excellent reviews on Trustpilot, you can get an extra 10% off by using the link in my description. Here are my 5 resonators you might want to skip as a newer player. So, let's start with Jiyan. He used to be the poster child of Wuthering Waves, but now he's become a textbook example of sweat to win gameplay. He requires way too much effort for what you get out of him. Using him optimally feels like a hand-cramping experience, and the investment you need to make him shine is absurd. You'll find yourself grinding gears, stacking buffs, and micromanaging every dodge and rotation just to keep up with newer characters who can achieve similar or better damage output with half the effort. The sad truth is that newer units are much easier to use while pumping out higher damage per second. For beginners, Jiyan is exhausting to play, extremely punishing if you mess up, and doesn't give back enough value for the sweat you pour in. Up next, Yinlin. On paper, she looks great, and her flashy animations make her feel powerful. But her real issue is something that her signature weapon can't fix. Now, don't get me wrong, her signature weapon is incredible and can be equipped by almost any rectifier unit in the game. So there's undeniable value there. The problem comes from her limited coordinated damage. Once the enemy she marks is defeated, that coordinated damage ends, which makes her fantastic against single bosses but frustratingly inconsistent against groups of enemies in mob-heavy content like Wuthering Waves. That limitation means she doesn't scale well as a generalist pick. Without her signature weapon, she feels underwhelming and loses much of her bite. Even with proper gear, she's overshadowed by other units that fit into more teams and deliver results more easily. For a beginner, Yinlin is a risky bet because she ties your account's strength to a narrow playstyle that falters the moment the fight shifts away from her strengths. Third, we have Zhezhi. She is another case where expectations and reality part ways. She was hyped as a key support for both Zhezhi and Carlotta, able to fill incandescence for the former and provide coordinated damage for the latter. On paper, that sounds amazing. In practice, however, her numbers don't hold up. She struggles to outdamage many 4-star units, and worse, her support role can be completely replaced. Sanwa handles Carlotta's buffer duties while Mortifi takes care of Jinxi's refill needs. That leaves Zhezhi feeling redundant, a supposedly premium unit reduced to a glorified bot. She can't heal, she doesn't hit like a 5-star should, and she ends up being one of the scammiest limited banners the game has released. For a beginner, spending precious asteroids on her is a disaster waiting to happen. She's a trap dressed up in shiny animations, and you'll quickly realize cheaper, easier options can do her job better. Now, Rosia was a good pure sub DPS to Camellia when she first came out. She was clumping enemies that make her shine in mob situations, and she can even jump into the middle of another unit's rotation to clump and dish out occasional coordinated damage. She also broke new ground as the first unit with abilities that scale off Echo skill damage. While all that sounds impressive, the problem is the meta didn't stand still. Since her release, Frolova and Cantarella have entered the scene, and units with higher raw damage like Camellia, Brand, and Jinshi tend to outshine her in practice. On top of that, she competes with Sanwa as a basic attack buffer. So even though there's still value in having her, her role has been shrinking fast. Maybe Chisa will breathe new life into her one day, but right now, her usefulness has already declined at an alarming rate. Not exactly ideal for a beginner's long-term investment. Finally, there's Zani. On the surface, she's marketed as a hyper carry, but the cracks show quickly once you start using her. She relies almost entirely on Phoebe to make her gimmick function because she can't generate her own stacks of Spectral Frazzle. Without Phoebe, her kit falls apart. And even with support, she has nothing else to offer beyond trying to hyper carry. Her buff is locked behind awkward preconditions. Her damage ramps up far too slowly, and when she finally does get rolling, the numbers don't justify the hassle. Compared to Jinshi, whose rotation is smooth, fast, and ends with a massive nuke when her incandescence is filled, Zani feels like a scammy downgrade. She needs to be babysat, hyper carried, and set up just to deliver mediocre damage. That inconsistency combined with her lack of utility and dependence on other units makes her one of the riskiest choices for new players. She looks flashy and tempting, beautiful, elegant, but for anyone just starting out, she's a trap you'll regret pulling. So, what's the takeaway? Again, none of these characters are worthless. They all have niches, fans, and situations where they perform well. But if you're new and looking for safe, reliable returns on your investment, these 5 are the ones, in my opinion, you should probably avoid. Go for characters that give you strong value right out of the gate, and save these riskier pools for later when your roster can support them. So, do you agree with this list? Or do you think one of these so-called beginner traps deserves more love? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your takes. If this video resonated with you, please leave a like for Augusta, subscribe for Shorekeeper, and hit the bell for you know. Thank you so much for watching. Maraming salamat po, and I will see you on the next video drop. Goodbye!